Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to this live reaction slash what I'd like to call a probably closer to a review of Money in the Bank 2017. Now, before we get started, I do want to point out one or two things. One, very much apologies for the noise in the background. What you're seeing, that you can probably see it oscillating in the background just there behind me. Is a fan. Due to the nature of my setup, it is very much impossible to record and not die, as you could probably tell by like how sweaty my head looks. I mean, you know, when you're considering going bald just to be cooler, you know that you're not fucking liking the heat. And speaking of heat, that was probably one of the things that WWE were aiming for last night, but most certainly didn't get. So what we're going to do is we're going to review Money in the Bank in the order that the matches were on the card, and I'm going to give you my opinion on them, and where possible, or where I remember, I will try and perhaps give you the opinion, or at least the general opinion of other people. So like maybe I'm going to try and see it from other people's point of view, basically, and then you can make up your own mind. So we're going to start off with the pre-show. The Hype Bros returning Zack Ryder, obviously teaming with Mojo Rawley to defeat the Colons, or the Colons, however you want to pronounce it. I didn't see this match because, you know, I don't care for the pre-show a great deal. A lot of people actually wanted Zack Ryder to turn heel, and a lot of people, including myself, actually thought that he would. And he didn't. And it was a pretty bog standard victory for the Hype Bros. The only issue here is that it seems like the last 6 months of Mojo Rawley's character development, to steal a kind of like phrase from one of my friends, is completely gone with the wind. Like that's finished. That's no longer a thing. You know, basically, forget that he won the Battle Royal. Forget that he last eliminated the WWE Champion. Oh my God, WrestleMania 33, in fact, was probably only barely 2 and a bit months ago. It seems like so much longer. Such has the landscape of WWE changed since then, but a good match nonetheless, I suppose. And this next match is obviously the big sticking point of the pay-per-view for me. Now I did look at the betting odds beforehand. Shamus, my good friend, mentioned that perhaps we shouldn't do that. But then again, I do like to see if WWE swerve or deter from the predicted / smart money bets, as they sometimes do, more often than what you probably think they do. But let me just stress, my opinions on any of the matches tonight have nothing to do with like the fact that I already saw the betting odds. You know, I'm not one of these fans that will read a dirt sheet and then I'll be like, oh, fuck me, that's so predictable. Well, yeah, it would be, because you fucking read about it like half an hour ago. But nonetheless, let's get started with the proper show. And the first match on the proper show was the women's Money in the Bank ladder match. Carmella with James Ellsworth versus Charlotte, Naomi, Natalia, Tamina, and Becky Lynch. Now, herein lies the problem with James Ellsworth. Now, some people actually predicted to me that they said, oh, James Ellsworth is going to be involved in the finish. And I thought, straight away, oh no, well, that's not something I want to see. You know, that's not something that I don't believe anyone wants to see. But if he must, which I suppose he's there for a reason, you know, looking at the betting odds previous to the pay-per-view, Carmella was the heavy favorite. Before we get into the reasons why I don't believe that should have been the case, we'll get into the actual match. The main problem I had with this match, besides the finish, which was, in my opinion, terrible, and I keep saying this, but I'll get onto that. I'll get onto that shortly. Is the fact that there was no memorable spots. Like the only memorable spot that I believe is that Charlotte done a like really nice like moonsault corkscrew looking like dive to the outside, and I suppose Becky got slammed on the ladder, which, you know, for this is going to sound sexist, but for someone of a smaller frame, a lady, I didn't want to say a lady, but let's be real, like for a woman, that would hurt a lot more than it would a man. So props to Becky for doing that. And that was about it. And the fact that like it only went 13 minutes, just over 13 minutes, comparatively to the women's, to the men's Money in the Bank, which went like almost half an hour. The problem with this also, and this is more of a pay-per-view problem, is that none of the matches went, apart from the WWE Championship match, went for longer than 15 minutes. In fact, like the rest of the matches, some of them didn't even go 10 minutes. One of them only went 3 minutes and like something like, I don't know, almost 4 minutes. You know, a women's championship match barely went for just over 7 minutes. Yeah, it was like we were in the days of the old Divas division or something. In fact, the WWE Championship match, which went only just over 20 minutes, quite a few of those minutes were probably spent outside with Randy Orton destroying the Bollywood Boys or Singh Brothers or whatever you want to call them. But moving back to the women's Money in the Bank match. Okay, so here's the thing, right? The finish entailed James Ellsworth. Carmella was fucked up. Becky Lynch went to get the briefcase. She looked like she was getting it. Ellsworth tipped the ladder. Becky fell off. Ellsworth tried to stir Carmella. She wasn't having none of it. Then he climbed up the ladder himself, got the briefcase, and literally just dropped it down to Carmella. Now, I understand that WWE were like, oh, okay, let's give Carmella the most heat possible because, you know, the whole theme of her Money in the Bank run, if you will, and probably her title run in the near future would possibly be, oh, well, you know, she didn't deserve it, she didn't earn it, and that's fine. There are plenty of like heel championship runs or heel main event runs that have gone like that, and they've like for the most part they have worked out fine. But here's the thing, man. Like literally, the winner of the first women's Money in the Bank match was a man. There's no other way like of saying that. Like, I'm trying to be as clear and concise with this as I can. I purposely left it this late doing the actual review, this close to Raw, as it starts in 3 hours in the UK, so I could be in that wrestling mindset. You know, I could be in that frame of mind where I could be objective about it and possibly have more time to, you know, more time to reflect, more time to soak in what they were trying to do. And I get that. And if you truly want that to happen, why don't you just have like James Ellsworth, have Carmella, like possibly get Carmella, lift her up, put her on the ladder, and then like even if like then you want James Ellsworth start climbing the ladder, climbing the rungs of the ladder with Carmella propped up a little on his shoulders, get the briefcase down with help from James Ellsworth, then that's a completely different matter. I think the stigma of a woman not winning the first women's Money in the Bank, like if they would have done this next year or perhaps the year after, maybe I don't know if it would have bothered me as much. I really don't, but maybe it wouldn't have been such a big deal. It's just the fact that this one was the first women's Money in the Bank, so like literally you only have one chance at a first women's Money in the Bank match, and now you basically get the fact that this is the one and only first time they could do that, and they had a man win it. It was woefully reminiscent of the WrestleMania or the Miss WrestleMania Battle Royal from years ago, and you know, my teenage self back in 2009 thought it was ridiculous then. So clearly I think it's ridiculous now, being older and even more mature. Not to mention the fact that, like, moving away from the terrible abomination of a storyline that will be, or booking decision that will be, Becky Lynch winning it probably would have been the better thing. I mean, I understand that they're trying to make Carmella win so they can elevate her to that level, because she most likely might not never get a chance to be at that level without the, if you will, of the Money in the Bank. But Becky could have won it, like cashed it in on an injured Naomi somewhere down the line, and then could have gone through that whole self-righteous, I'm slowly turning heel, but I did what I had to phase. And, you know, it would have been quite interesting to see Becky heel. Now it doesn't look like we're going to get that, which is quite unfortunate. Moving along to the next match, the New Day versus the Usos. That ended by countout after the New Day won by countout. And I'm going to say, upon reflection, I do like the finish of this match. The match itself was well, to be fair, it probably was the best match on the card, apart from the men's Money in the Bank. Best normal wrestling match, if you will. These guys hit everything they could do. Big E almost killed one of the Usos at some point, but all was fine in the end, I suppose. He went for the big ending, failed to pick him up, picked him up in the end, and then did that. Usos broke up multiple pins. Even the New Day, they hit the midnight hour finisher, and they still, the Usos, you know, they got out of there with the titles. And I've heard people say, oh, well, they were going to get counted out, why didn't they just do that at the start? It's okay for heels to have some pride and try to win the match straight out. I mean, they're not cowardly chicken shit heels, the Usos. I don't know what kind of heel they necessarily are, but they're not they're not like the Miz type heels, are they? They're not anything like that. So I kind of can see where the whole thing was coming from, and I perhaps would have been more receptive to that finish had we not just seen the women's Money in the Bank have that awful finish, like just literally minutes earlier. But from a storyline perspective, I actually think it was a great finish. Like, the New Day doesn't look weak. The Usos don't look particularly weak. We can have a rematch at SummerSlam. And yeah, the Usos knew that on that night they weren't going to beat the New Day. And they just hightailed it out there, man. I mean, how many more lives could they have got after a big ending, a midnight hour, and various other shenanigans? Like, they wouldn't have had many more lives after that. So upon reflection, I didn't mind the finish. Although I wasn't impressed, considering we've already had two non/dirty finishes by this point. And that theme continued throughout the night. As up next, we did have Naomi versus Lana for the title, women's title, that is. And in the end, Naomi did win by submission. I was interested to see what Lana could do. I've heard rumors that she had been practicing in NXT. I'm not going to knock Lana. In fact, I'm going to get behind Lana for the effort and for the fact that, like, you know, she tried very hard. You could tell that both women tried hard to put on a respectable contest, and in a way they did. Lana's moveset was, as you'd expect, quite limited, but again, there's nothing wrong with that based on, you know, the fact that she's literally just learning the craft after being a manager for so long. The only issue I had with this again is that Carmella came down when we're still unsure if the briefcase is actually hers. And yes, I know technically it is, but then later Daniel Bryan and Shane McMahon both tweeted that it's unacceptable, and Daniel Bryan tweeted that it's going to be dealt with first thing on SmackDown Live. So, you know, we don't know where they're going with that. And if I was Carmella, I would have cashed in before they could take it away from me. Lana was distracted in a way, so, you know, I guess she gets credence. You know, I wouldn't have lost if Carmella didn't distract me. You know, Carmella teased the cash in, she didn't do it, but again, that was a messy finish. Like, it was kind of a non-finish as well. It was a bit silly. I mean, I don't know, take it what you will. It was a decent match. It went for just over 7 minutes, and it was what it promised to be, and that was like a match to showcase Lana and really see where Lana's at. I don't think anyone really believed that Lana would win the belt, especially given that a heel Carmella had just won the Money in the Bank briefcase. But yeah, I mean, I was okay with the match itself, but the finish, no, that, you know, apart from the Usos, which I've explained why I didn't mind that, but also I can see why a lot of people disliked it. That's 3 dirty finishes in a row now, 3 non-finishes. And with that being said, we are going to move swiftly on to the WWE Championship match. Jinder Mahal, excuse me, with the Singh brothers versus Randy Orton in his hometown. So I think it's safe to say that Randy Orton wasn't winning this match. And that was exactly how it proved to be. Jinder Mahal got the win. And look, I'm not going to criticize Jinder Mahal's title reign. Like I see it for exactly what it is. It's a market employer for a guy that a lot of people accuse of doing other methods, but at the moment I'm going to take his word for it, because why the fuck not? I wish I could have a physique like you, Jinder. Look at these flabby arms. Jinder Mahal, man, he works his ass off. Let's face it. He has to be putting some serious hours in the gym. He has to be sacrificing a lot of delicious cakes and whatnot in his dietary life, if you will, in his diet. So, fuck it, man. He deserves that shit. And I just wish that they wouldn't do Randy Orton. They wouldn't do him. And they wouldn't do, you know, the crowd, who actually, St. Louis, like, if anyone from St. Louis is watching this, you did great, man. Anyone that went to the event is watching this. You did fantastic. Thank you for trying to provide an atmosphere all night for a pay-per-view that, quite frankly, in my opinion, didn't deserve it. It's going to divide opinion. It's either the worst view in a while or it's meh. We just put out a lot of meh content, but this just felt especially bad. The main problem I had with the ending, the only thing different from the ending was it Backlash, that, you know, the Singh brothers got ejected from ringside, and then straight after they went over to the Legends and they tried putting hands on Randy Orton's dad, at which point Randy Orton went mental, put the Singh brothers like through the announce table and stuff, like did a sweet RKO spot, running RKO, and nailed it. Did a sweet spot like that and seemed to take them out of the equation, and it was all good until the point where he got back in, and then Jinder hit him with that kind of Cobra Clutch, full Nelson slam, if you will, the Coloss, I think they call it. And like, it was more or less the exact same ending as we had for fucking Backlash. And what do you do now? Who challenges Jinder? Does AJ Styles challenge Jinder and win, and then perhaps Baron Corbin cashes in? Is that too soon? I don't know, but I'm happy that this feud is hopefully over. Hopefully it doesn't go any longer. Hopefully that Randy Orton and Jinder's feud is done, and Randy Orton could perhaps feud with someone else. Maybe a Kevin Owens, although Nakamura probably will feud with him, or I don't know. Basically, just don't repeat the same ending to a match we've already seen. The almost exact same ending. Next, we did have an impromptu matchup: Breezango versus the Ascension. This played out with a Fashion Files vignette, which basically said that, yeah, we're the guys that attacked you. We're going to make ourselves known tonight. Everyone, including myself, was expecting a heel American Alpha. I hope this is a ruse and we do get a heel American Alpha. Breezango did defeat the Ascension because, of course, why the fuck wouldn't they? And that was pretty much that. Let's just hope that was a ruse and we do get a heel American Alpha shortly. Moving on now to the last and final match of the evening, the men's Money in the Bank, which of course was won by Baron Corbin. This was a great match. The only issues I had with it was that, and this is going to sound really like bad considering, like, yeah, well, you get what I mean. The beginning and the end of the match, but apart from that, it was great. Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn, of course, took up most of the ladder spots. AJ Styles did a really interesting spot where he had the briefcase and proceeded to climb the rope to try and hold on to the briefcase, but he fell down and couldn't quite make it. Yeah, man, everybody at some point in this match, which I suppose is a given, looked like they could win, even though you knew that, people like Ziggler and potentially Sami Zayn and maybe Kevin Owens, unfortunately, didn't stand a chance. But this is the thing I have issue with. At the beginning of the match, Baron Corbin took out Nakamura, and I only have issues with this because Nakamura didn't return later and win. He did return and almost won, but then why have him return if he's not going to win? Then he could have an issue with Baron Corbin because Corbin took him out of the match and he never got the chance. There was this wonderful face-off with AJ Styles and Nakamura. Please, I want to see this fight. I want to see this battle at SummerSlam or indeed WrestleMania. Please, WWE, don't fuck it up. It is so obvious. It can literally be a respectful face versus face thing. I will watch, take my money. That is all I've got to say. The end of the match came when Baron Corbin just tipped AJ Styles and Nakamura off the ladder and got the briefcase in, which took him an eternity to get it down. I don't mind anyone winning this, to be perfectly frank, although Baron Corbin was my least favourite. I just find his work on the mic and in the ring a little bit too pedestrian, a little bit too slow, and potentially a little bit boring. But a lot of people do like Baron Corbin. I can understand that. And, fuck it. What's done is done. I'm just excited to see what happens, and I'm happy to be along for the ride, I suppose. So that, in a nutshell, was Money in the Bank 2017. I hope you've enjoyed this review. It's been my first one in a long time, so please don't be too harsh if I've left anything out, or perhaps I've not, been the most articulate in my vocabulary trying to express myself when talking about how I feel about this pay-per-view. But I do solemnly feel that basically, I feel like the evening in general, the pay-per-view would have been so much better had it got off to a really good start. The ending of the women's Money in the Bank ladder match was ideal if you were going to do it as a false finish, but now in the history books, it will say that a man has won the first women's Money in the Bank. I find that wholeheartedly unacceptable. It would be interesting to get the opinion of women who watch wrestling, and I don't know how many there are. You'd assume there's not that many, but if any women do watch wrestling and did see it last night, tweet me about how you feel about it, because I'm genuinely interested to know. Even as a man, I felt like, for fuck's sake, not again. It would literally be like having Kane interfere in the Hell in a Cell match between Charlotte and Sasha and fucking get the pinfall. You would have thought they would have learned their lesson from 2009, but clearly they didn't. You could tell, man, WWE just wanted us it was a trolling pay-per-view, pretty much. Simple as that. But guys, anyway, I hope you have enjoyed this review. I've enjoyed bringing it to you. Sorry about the fan in the background, but until late August, early September, it's going to be here, man. Thanks for watching. I'm out. Peace.